As the president delivered a rousing speech aboard an aircraft carrier, a sharp flash of light glinted in the distance. Instantly, he had already calculated the sniper's position. The assassin, a woman filled with hate, was frustrated as she saw his head shift just slightly. Still, she fired. The president didn't dodge completely. He merely tilted his body enough for the bullet to graze him, an intentional move. It created the illusion of vulnerability, but actually expanded his tactical options. Just 2 years ago, he was a failure, unemployed, penniless, drowning in deadlines, and abandoned by his girlfriend. Back then, Eddie was a washed-up writer who hadn't penned a word in weeks. His girlfriend left him, depressed and deep in debt. He climbed to the edge of a building, ready to end it all. But just as he was about to jump, something made him stop. That hesitation saved his life and changed it forever. On the street later that day, he bumped into his long-lost brother-in-law. Seeing Eddie's disheveled state, the man offered him a single, transparent pill. He claimed it could unlock 100% of the brain's capacity, far beyond Einstein's 20%. Eddie scoffed at first. What could a pill do that years of effort hadn't? But the pill was free and worth $800. A fortune to him. Curious and desperate, he took it. Back in Chinatown, he swallowed the pill. Moments later, everything changed. Colors sharpened. Time seemed to slow. He noticed tiny details. The world became vivid and ordered. He encountered his landlady, and within seconds, deduced from a glance at her book that she was writing a law thesis. Legal theories he'd once struggled with came back with astonishing clarity. He gave her expert advice, winning her admiration instantly. Back in his room, his mind exploded with energy. He cleaned his apartment, recalled obscure information with ease, and typed out a full-length novel in just a few hours. It was an overwhelming surge of intelligence and control. The next morning, the effect vanished. His mind dulled, but the novel remained. He submitted it to a publisher who called him the same day, thrilled by what he'd read. For the first time, Eddie felt success, real, tangible success, but he needed more pills. When he returned to find his brother-in-law, he discovered the man had been killed, his apartment ransacked. Others were clearly after the same drug. Recalling a clue his brother-in-law once gave about cooking at home, meaning he'd be dead, Eddie checked the oven and found a hidden stash of pills. With a steady supply, Eddie's abilities soared. He wrote a second novel in days, learned piano in 3, mastered languages in hours, and dazzled at casinos. Women, money, fame, everything he once dreamed of was suddenly within reach. But it wasn't enough. He wanted fast money. He began trading stocks, turning $800 into $2,000, then $7,500, still too slow. He borrowed $100,000 from a loan shark, convinced he couldn't lose. Doubling his dosage, he reached peak cognitive speed. In under a week, he made over $2 million. Newspapers hailed him as a prodigy. His ex returned. The world watched in awe as he rose, seemingly invincible. But the universe balances all things. Soon, Eddie's memory began to fade. Without the pill, he grew nauseous and weak. He started blacking out, finding himself across the city with no memory of how he got there. Worse still, he realized he was being watched. The miracle had a cost, and that price was beginning to surface. Eddie was once an ordinary man, struggling through life until a mysterious transparent pill changed everything. The pill unlocked 100% of his brain's capacity, something not even Einstein achieved. Suddenly, Eddie could speak fluent languages, learn the piano in days, and write a best-selling novel overnight. His senses were sharper, his confidence soared, and in the stock market he was unstoppable, turning hundreds into millions. But the magic came at a price. One day, while being provoked by local thugs, Eddie's brain instinctively recalled Bruce Lee's techniques from old movies. With calculated precision, he countered every move, targeting vital points like the eyes and throat, disrupting their balance with sweeping kicks. It wasn't martial arts training, just an enhanced mind replicating what it had once seen. However, the pill's side effects were vicious. After each dose, Eddie would black out for 18 hours, remembering nothing but fragmented images. He grew dependent, unable to concentrate or think without the drug. On the day of a meeting with a major investor, his mind was blank. He could only excuse himself and rush outside, where he vomited violently. Desperate, Eddie remembered a notebook left by his now dead brother-in-law, the one who had first introduced him to the pill. Inside were contacts of other users. Eddie called them. 3 were dead, others bedridden. When he dialed one more number, the phone rang. Behind him, it was the man who had been stalking him. Eddie ran for his life and barely escaped after a violent car crash. Later, he met his ex-wife in a Chinese restaurant. She had once used the pill too, but stopped, understanding that prolonged brain overstimulation would eventually destroy her. Though quitting ended her rise, it saved her life. She warned Eddie to taper off gradually or face death. With nowhere to go, Eddie hesitated to take another pill until Lao Dao, a ruthless loan shark, found him. Furious over missed payments, Lao Dao attacked him. Eddie, in pain, reached for the pill, but Lao Dao grabbed it and swallowed it himself. Eddie, barely conscious, crawled to the bank, withdrawing cash to repay him. Lao Dao, now experiencing the pill's euphoric high, left satisfied. But Eddie's condition worsened. With his last strength, he visited his girlfriend's workplace and revealed everything. The secret to his success, the pill's power, and its hiding place. A conch shell at her home. As she left, she noticed a man following her. She ran, desperate, eventually seeking help from two strangers in a park. One man tried to defend her, only to be killed alongside his friend by the relentless pursuer. Their sacrifice gave her a chance to escape. Panicked, she contacted Eddie. He sent her one final message: take the pill, you'll find your way out. A woman was being hunted by a killer. In a desperate moment, she swallowed a mysterious pill. Within 30 seconds, her brain unlocked to 100% capacity. Her senses heightened. The world around her became clearer. Without hesitation, she bolted toward the skating rink. The assassin followed closely, knife in hand. Just as he closed in, a powerful skater slashed his face with an ice blade, giving the woman just enough time to escape. She had risked everything to retrieve that pill. Eddie, he wasn't the only one after the drug. A lone shark named Lao Dao had also caught wind of its power. To silence him, Eddie reluctantly gave him a few pills, but he couldn't live under constant threat. Determined to take control, Eddie paid $2 million to a chemist to replicate the pill's effects within 6 months. He then spent $8 million on a high-security apartment, equipped with reinforced doors and pressure-locked entrances. With his safety secured, Eddie poured himself into work, orchestrating the largest financial merger in history. Everything was going well until the final signing meeting. The opposing CEO suddenly backed out. His wife revealed he had a stroke, but Eddie recognized her driver. It was the same man who had once stalked him. He realized with horror that the CEO had also used the pill and now sought to eliminate any competition. Soon after, news of the CEO's death broke. Eddie panicked. He reached for his last pill, only to discover it was gone. Then, a package arrived. Inside were the severed hands of his 2 bodyguards. It was Lao Dao's doing. Eddie rushed home, only to find the gangster already there. As Lao Dao tried to cut through the steel-reinforced door, Eddie desperately searched for the last pill hidden in a herbal container, but just as he found it, Lao Dao broke in. Startled, Eddie dropped the pill. It rolled down the drain. With no more pills left, Eddie was defenseless. Lao Dao's henchmen started tearing the place apart, looking for more. Lao Dao smugly bragged about a new method of injecting the dissolved pill for longer-lasting effects, but this was his final mistake. Eddie noticed a fruit knife nearby. While pretending to surrender, he grabbed the knife and fatally struck Lao Dao. Though exhausted and bleeding, he managed to fend off the others with residual drug effects absorbed from Lao Dao's spilled blood. A year later, Eddie had become a U.S. senator with his eyes set on the presidency. But then, the former CEO reappeared, revealing he had bought the pharmaceutical company that created the pill. He threatened to expose Eddie unless he complied. Eddie calmly claimed he no longer needed the drug, that he had evolved beyond it. In truth, he had successfully weaned off it and trained his mind to function at full capacity without help. He had become the master of his own destiny.